Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Practical Pet Chat. Lorin, it's summer. There is a lot of folks like myself getting out there exercising their pets. That comes with a lot of benefits, but also some concerns. So, what's your biggest concern when you think about summer pet exercise?
Oh gosh, how do I pick one?
There are a lot.
There are a lot. I have two that are close to number one. I would say people who don't realize just how hot the ground is. And they dismiss it like in some way their kids' paws are impervious to temperature or extreme temperature, or they have different definitions of what extreme temperature is. And then the other thing would be the flat-faced kids, the brachycephalic kids, the bulldogs, the Frenchies, the Shih Tzus, the boxers, all of them. Um, oh man, that's tough on them, that heat. It's already tough for them because it's hot and they're panting. But then any exercise that gets added into that just makes it a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the other thing too is there's a lot of charts out there and all that. You know your pet. And so if you're seeing any kind of struggle, like stop. It frustrates me so much. I know we've talked about this before. I like to take Belle for hikes with me. I don't do that at the hottest part of the day though. And what kills me and really frustrates me, and it's hard to hold my tongue. In fact, I really don't these days. I'm that guy who's coming back from the end of his and will say, "Are you just getting started? You probably don't want to do that with your like." There are people that take their bulldogs out on these walks, and I'm like, "That's awesome. If you had done that 2 or 3 hours earlier." So the biggest like thing for me is like plan. And where's your water? Like, what? Like, I just that's great that you can do it without any water. Your pet should not be expected to do what you can do. And so I'll just start there with my little feedback on the definitely on the ground. Um, it just blows my mind if you're wearing shoes and your dog's not. And by the way, I'm not a big dog shoe guy either. There are times where I understand that, but if you're going out on a 3 4 mile hike, that's how they exhale their heat. So you better
Right.
make sure those are breathable. I've seen some better designed dog shoes than others. Um,
Have you seen the rubber ones?
I have, yeah.
The rubber ones are just mind blowing to me. It's
I
like, what makes you think that's a good idea? It's hot. They're already hot, and then you're going to encase rubber around their feet. And then how are they supposed to get any air and breathability and, sweating
Right.
through their
Yeah, you got
paws?
to
And
really look at the design. I've seen some well-designed ones that are breathable and have that breathable texture because they've got. To me, the material is certainly important, but it's the design that is more important. And I just got so frustrated where I'm they, like, listen, I'm the photographer, right? So I put clothes on animals and all the rest, but I don't ask them to go make a hike in that. Okay, would never do that. And yet I see these shoes, and you can just see how uncomfortable. Now I've seen some pets that are super comfortable, and I'm like, oh wow, that's so cool. Look, can I see the design of that? The design of the shoe is just great. Still a long way to go, though, in my opinion. So I don't do that to Belle, and I wouldn't have done it to Sugar or Zoe. Just not how I'm gonna do all that.
well, and
But
the other consideration too is the density of their coat.
yeah,
I mean, taking a double or triple coated dog out into 100-degree heat in the hottest part of the day. It's like, come on, we can't pick another time of day to do that.
and that's where I'm gonna be honest with everybody out there. That's where Belle is very fortunate because I'm not doing that myself, and maybe that should be the criteria. So
Right. Well,
start to include.
right.
It's
That's
like
exactly right.
if you wouldn't do that yourself, why are you expecting? And even if you would, have some grace. That's craziness to me.
Well, I saw
Uh,
a guy running with a husky and he was jogging and running and the guy was really fit, and he clearly worked out and everything. This dog was struggling and his dad wants him to run with him, and they're on sun-baked asphalt and running all out and this dog's a Siberian husky. It's like, come on, man.
yeah, I mean, so obviously Belle is a mix, and a lot of folks will, mistake her for husky full blown or other wild animals. She's none of that, which is another thing too. How you're keeping your dog when you're exercising connected to you. I see a lot of folks on the trails that will let their dogs free. That's not good for me and Belle. Um, Belle gets curious, but then she gets scared because she's been attacked by a dog, you know. And so, just for everybody's sake, your dog safety, my dog safety, keep them attached to you. If not, then don't be on a regular trail where you're going to encounter other pet parents because you don't know how their pets are going to react. You don't know how other folks that are out there using those same trails are going to react. So, really important there. I think the other thing too, I like that you brought up water sports as well. So I've got a pool. Bella loves the pool. She uses the pool more than any of us. Um, but I got to worry about it because honestly, there are issues. She is one of those. She likes to dunk her head under. She just really is. We've all seen the videos of the dogs that, it's like time to come in. And they're like, sure, after one more jump in, that's Belle. I'll say, Belle, no more water and she'll take a little two steps. It's fun. Maybe one of these days I'll video it, but it'd be hard for me to hold a phone straight because it's just so damn cute and funny. And she'll just like, okay, yeah, no, I'm coming, and she's walking sideways to get back to the pool shelf and then back under the water. The problem with that is, you've got the hyponatremia, which can happen, and it's like, whoa, hey, that I've seen her at times where she just loves. I mean, that's one of her favorite things to do when people are in the pool. They flip water at her and she, likes to catch it and, all the stuff, have it wash over her. But too much water and all of a sudden, there's issues. And so if you're not familiar with that, take a look at that. Um,
Well, the
it's
issues with ice too.
oh yeah, exactly.
Same thing. People will tell me, in the summertime, I just give my dog a bowl of ice,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, that's not such a great idea.
Well, and that's that whole thing. Oh, I just turned the hose on. The dog loves the hose.
Right.
The dog's like, you know, but that's all going down quicker. It's the same. Think about it maybe in this way. Very similar when you put a dog food bowl down and the dog just goes at it and you've got those, they're just hoovering it down, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with the water. Too much causes issues, causes problems. Don't let that happen. Make sure they're getting their break, make sure they're not just gulping down. I'm not worried about brain freeze as much as I am bigger issues down within the stomach and all that. And you'll see because
Right.
they get a little unbalanced or they get a little, feisty and they'll just have that moment of like, oh, what's happening here?
Well, dogs have died. Dogs have
Yeah.
died
Oh
from
no,
that.
100%. Yeah. It's just
The
serious.
ice and the water and,
People don't believe
no,
people be like, oh no, my dog's fine. Blah, blah. By the way,
and
great back.
they don't know how much is too much,
Yeah.
and I really think everything needs to come down to moderation. And what happens too is a lot of times when people are outside and they're at the pool and they're with the dog and the dog is part of a party or family, they don't see everything that's going on.
Well, to your point, they don't see how much is being
That's what I mean. Yeah.
digested, yeah, and consumed because you've got other things that are going to take your attention away, and you're just hoping and trusting that your dog. It's like a barbecue and all that during the summer, right? Like how
Right.
many burgers and hot dog, did that dog get to before I finally realized? Which is why we have our sign up. Bella's a properly fed, dog. Thanks for visiting us. She doesn't need your extra food scraps. We do feed her. Um, And she's got the cutest little put your head on your lap and oh, these people don't feed me ever. Same thing with, oh, they never let me in the pool. That's all that dog does during the summer is, sit
Yeah.
on the shelf, rest her head on the step just so she can, she's like a little crocodile there. So she's getting plenty of time, plenty of exposure. Got to watch that, got to manage that.
The
And
other thing on exercise too is duration. I think that people need to keep in mind, that when you're wearing that type of a coat, and yes, a double and a triple coated dog, it also insulates them as well as it, you know, um, protects them. Um, I just think you need to think about the duration of that kind of exercise with the time of day, with your individual dog, with the age of the dog, with the, where you're at, even if it's nighttime. I mean, I'm in Texas and at night, last night it was 80 some degrees. And it's like, is that a better time of day? Well, yeah, than, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But, it's better only because the sun isn't beating down. So you still have to think about the length of time that's involved and maybe go on more frequent, or there's other ways to play. There's other ways to exercise. There's other things to do in the house. And that varies too with the size of the dog, because a lot of dogs need outside exercise time. People who have real dogs need outside exercise time. Um, but I have little dogs and they can get zoomies around the house
yep,
and half a dozen zoomies around the house, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I just need to lay down. This is too much. And I look at them, I'm like, really? It was 6 times around the house. It wasn't that big of a deal. But they're 3 pounds. That's a lot. That's running laps for them, in air conditioning, poor babies.
yeah.
But that's ideal.
Well, and I like that you brought up the age, not just the breed,
Right.
because that's that other part, right? You got an older dog, short bursts of exercise, and remember, exercise is not just about the physical, it's that mental side of it as well, right? um,
Hmm.
you want them to get tired, but you want them stimulated, both not just running, but like, okay, let's have you find, let's have you seek. I love doing that in the house. So when you talk about
Me
the zoo, it
too.
doesn't have to be zoomies. It can be, I'll go to different parts of the house, and it's one of my favorite things to do with Belle because we got different turns in the
Us
house.
too.
We've got
Yep.
upstairs, downstairs, and Belle is just what I love, because I call her, it's her telescope ear. She's got that one ear that like sticks up at the minute you're like, Belle, where? And it's like, sorry, uh, looking down. She's like, I got the ear, Dad, I'm good. Um, but I love doing that, and I'll literally text the kids like, call Belle. Let's see if she will run upstairs, check on you, and all that. And we've got, and to your point, by the way, so Belle's got some vestibular issues and all that. So we've got pads on each one of the stairs so that she can get a grip, because otherwise they're wooden stairs. And so, but I like that because I'll get a tip off from her, like, hey, she's tired, she's exhausted, because I can see how she's approaching the stairs as well.
Right.
You know your pet. I mean, that's just the end all be all for everybody out there. And if you don't, what a great opportunity to learn those things and learn those idiosyncrasies that only they have. That's that your pet's expert, you're your pet's advocate, and do those things. But there's also just little things. Sometimes just a little tug of war on the couch while you're watching something else. That's all they need sometimes. Just get that out of me. Get that,
Mhm.
you know. Uh, Belle is really funny because she does have that husky part of her, and she'll talk, and she and I will argue for like 15, 20 minutes. And then, everybody's like, she's getting amped up. She's getting amped. I'm like, nah, she's just being herself. She's just funny. And she'll come up, lay down right next to me, put her head in my lap. Good conversation, Dad. Yep. Awesome. Lots of fun.
One of
Uh,
my 3 pounders does that. We can't have anybody else in the house having a conversation with us that she doesn't feel like she needs to be right in the middle of it. Holding her own, chatting it up, not barking, it's it's like, oh my God. After 5 minutes, you're like, why are you part of this conversation? She's like, what do you mean? I'm here. I'm part of
uh,
it.
yeah.
But we also play go find mom, go find dad,
Yeah.
which is really fun. It was really fun in the store because we had so many places we could hide and I would climb onto shelves and,
Oh,
dogs wouldn't be able to find the They know you're there, they know you're somewhere, but they can't find you. And that was really fun. There's so many things to do. The idea is to keep exercising but maybe a little differently. And it's not just summer, even in the winter, you have to think about it because extreme
True.
temperatures again, extreme cold can be tough on some dogs for their breathing and,
Right.
their ability to deal with that kind of cold. It's great again if you have a husky, but if you have a single coated dog, a poodle or Shih Tzu or something like that, they're shaking the whole time.
Right.
And they just want to do what they got to do and come back in. So you have to come be creative again. So there isn't just one way to exercise, but you do need to think about it just like you would for two-legged children.
Right.
You need to be
Well,
watchful and protective.
yeah, I like one of the other things I like that you just called out, and I had it on my list here is also keep in mind with those single coated dogs, sunburn's a real thing for pets.
Yeah.
And, I know a lot of folks would be like, oh, please don't go to the, suntan spray and all the rest of that sunscreen for dogs.
No.
I'm not advocating that. What I'm advocating is be aware. Be aware.
Awareness, right.
Yeah. Because there is no way for them to communicate to you. And then, I've had folks go, oh my God, I think something's wrong with my dog because I went to touch her, Rob, and she just yelped and jumped. Should I get her to the vet right away? And I'm like, well, what are you doing all day? What is she walking different? Is anything else different other than you touched her and it's summer? Yeah, no, we were outside all day and it was just great. And I'm like, so did your dog have a place to get out of the sun? Because that could just be a sun. Oh, wait, that's real. They can get sunburns. Absolutely, they can get sunburns. So I just, you got to give them shade. You got to give them places where they can get out of the sun. And if you see they're standing in the sun too long, or that's what they want to do, they want to be in the middle of the action. All right, then let's look for a sun, shirt. And you probably know more about those than I do, but just like no different. I wear them all the time myself. I'm fair skinned. I can get sunburned very quickly. Same thing with those single coat, and even no coat pets. That's the one that always gets me. I'm like, look, your dog has no hair to protect it from the sun, and you're going to have it out in the sun all day.
Well, I've had clients that have had dogs with black hair and
Oh
didn't
yeah,
think that they could get burnt. And I'm parting the coat going, yeah, it looks like a sunburn to me.
yeah,
They're like, really? How is that possible? And I'm like, well, hours and hours out in the sun, it's
yeah.
possible.
Yeah, well, and just kind of going back to we've talked about this before when you talk about going on hikes and other things that you're doing. Yeah, a lot of that shrubbery, a lot of the different I'll just say vegetation that's out there is now all of a sudden crunchy. And again, what do those paws do? I can't do it, everybody. I mean, literally, Lauren, you are the hand model for all dog paws. Can we just see that?
Oh, yes. They put their paws down. They put their paws down, their toes spread, and then they pick their paws up and their toes come back together and they pick up whatever's on the ground.
Exactly. And then it gets mushed in there. It's not just during those winter times or those when it's, hydrated, especially, and you get those little burrs up in there and you'll see your dog after a
Mhm.
hike. So you got to be washing those paws out when you come back from a hike during the summer in particular, because they need it. Let's keep it clean. That's how they're, expressing different things, from their heat on down to, hey, something's wrong. So let's keep those clean. But we've talked about that before. Hopefully, everybody out there is doing that. If you're not, figure out a way to really
Yeah.
keep those paws clean. So important. And it's interesting because, Lauren, I don't know about for you, but it's one of those tips that's moved up for me these days where they'll say, like, what's your best tip that people don't? And I'm like, keep the paws clean because I'm surprised how many people don't do that. And, it's a clear sign, everybody out there something's going on if your dog is licking their paws, your cat's licking their paws constantly, something's there. And it could be internal, but it could just be as simple as, hey, I need this cleaned out and I can't get it done with what I'm trying to do with my tongue or however else your pets are trying to clean their paws. Help them out. Get those areas clean.
Well, that licking too can lead to yeast. I know for a lot of people, they come in for grooming and they go, yeah, they're really licking their paws. And typically a lot of what we would find when we would brush through their feet, and separate their toes is mats.
Mm.
They're just really fine mats, and mats pull against the skin. They hurt, they pull away the fur from the skin. And that's irritating at best and painful at worst. So a lot of times you just have to go through and work some of that out. And I have long-haired dogs. That happens to them all the time. So every day we have to go through and take a fine-tooth comb and brush out in between their pads to be sure that, there's nothing in there and that there's no knots or little mats or anything like that because it bugs them. And I
Yeah,
don't want them licking because I don't want it to lead to yeast. And, that's another whole, I don't really like Frito feet. So, you
yeah.
know,
Frito feed. That's gonna be
Frito
the
feet, they smell like corn chips.
that's gonna be the title for the episode, folks. Uh, Lauren cures Frito feed. No, I love that. Summer's a fun time, right? Because we get more sun. So we've got more daylight, and there's just a greater awareness, less snuggle time, but just so many more fun things to do. So enjoy it. Keep your pets safe. There's a lot of fun games out there. A lot of ways to do things, but at the end of the day, it all comes back down to safety. Hopefully, we've given you a few things here today that you can incorporate with your pets during this time. Lauren, any last thoughts from you on summertime exercise with your pets?
No, have fun, but when it's all said and done, sometimes it's better for the kids to stay home, the four-legged kids to stay home. It's whatever's best for them, whatever is most comfortable for them in the long run. That's the criteria.
Yeah, one last tip I'll throw out to everybody: double, triple, quadruple check those water bowls because those seem to go down quicker in the summertime. So make sure you're leaving water out. Make sure it's fresh. Make sure you're cleaning that out. Have fun. It's such a great time of the year to be playing and rolling around with your pets. What a great time, too, for all of our feline friends out there. Lots to see, lots of birds, lots of new baby birds out there, and all that. So, lots of entertainment. Indoors is not a punishment, it can be a great enrichment area. Have fun with it. Thank you all for joining us here at Practical Pet Chat. Don't forget, you can email us, practicalpetchat@gmail.com. Visit us on our website and all the other channels that you're accessing our videos, our podcasts, etc. And make sure you tell a friend this week. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2025 Practical Pet Chat, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.